السيدات والسادة في مصر.
Ladies and gentlemen everywhere, this is one of the most ancient and beautiful, glorious cities worldwide, which is the city of Luxor. Luxor city is witnessing today an unprecedented event, including a major number of news agencies, foreign correspondents. In few minutes, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is going to join us, and the First Lady as well. Today we are in the Loksar Temple, which is the end of the processions road, where the sacred works usually ended, which is.
It was built 3,000 years ago. It's famous for two obelisks, where one of them is transferred to Paris, to France, in the Concorde since 1836. The second oblique is the eastern one, and it's now situated in front of the temple. It is more than 22 meters, where it have engravings of the Ramses' name and his titles, and also there are the indications of the offerings. The Luxor Temple is one of the best temples in Egypt, where there are engraving, where it documents very important epochs in the Egyptian history that dates back to 1,000 years, as the military processions, and also the celebration of Opt celebration, and it's one of the most important celebrations in Luxor, in Aswan, where this engravings is where there are the musical instruments used by the ancient Egyptians, the drums and the harps and the others. The Opet celebration, which is celebrated today inside Luxor, is what we'll witness today. No city in the whole world has all these touristic sites that are documented in the history as Luxor, where there is a valley for the kings, where they document the history of the world, as the western bank in Luxor, were 64 tombs for 28 tombs of kings and queens, Hatshepsut Queen and Sosret. This site is for Thutmose I, where it was situated as a place apart from the thieves, away from the thieves. So the Valley of the Kings, where all the modern dynasty, the 18th to the 20th dynasty, with the tombs, the very important tombs. And although they are very small in size, and there is the new tomb of Tutankhamun, where there are a lot of golden engravings on the walls, and which was transferred to the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, where it will be displayed with the inauguration of the new Egyptian Museum. The ancient Egyptians, they believe in death, where they believe that they will take the boat to the afterlife. That's why the Kings of Valley is one of the most important touristic sites in the world. From the Habo Temple, where it was the sacred achievements, where we welcome you all. Luxor has a lot of the monuments, and they are very historic, where Habo is built by Ramses II, and it's one of the most important temples of the new dynasty, and it still reserves its engravings on the wall. And there is the picture of the king, where he conquered the enemies. And also there are paintings where he conquered, he has his navy conquers. And in Abu, there are a lot of documentation of the age of Ramses II, where it has its religious implications and their importance in history. Welcome you all from all over the world to the land of civilization, the land of history, Egypt. Welcome in Luxor. Luxor, which is famous of its touristic sites and its people, where a lot of tourists they head to Luxor because they will witness the civilization, the history of civilization. And Hatshepsut is very famous in Luxor because of the architectural monument of her place in the western bank. It is cinnamon. It was designed by Cinnamon and known in the ancient Egyptian as Cicerone. This temple witnessed the importance of women's status and how she can rule the world and the country. Hatshepsut has engraved on her walls the important voyages she has done. She is a queen and a wife of a king. Also, she has documented her ruling of the country on the walls of her temple. She was the legal inheritant of her father, Amun. Welcome to Egypt, the cradle of civilization and history of the world, which is famous of its innovations. More Thebes, where it's the continuation of the history of the world, as the place we are here, the Luxor Temple for the ancient history arts. It has a lot of valuable pieces that dates back to different epochs of the history, as the head of Somerset. It's a very important statue, and the Thutmose III, and the most important alabaster statue of Thutmose III, and also the documentation of the Thebes conquerors. Here starts the civilization of the world, and here the ancient Egyptians has built the most important Egyptian history. It's one of the most important religious complex in the world. Tourists always are interested in this place. The monuments of Luxor, it's one of the symbols of history. Thebes, Luxor. The Karnaka Temple is started with the Amun statue that was built in the Middle Dynasty in the epoch of Senusert I, and it continued till the Roman era, where more than 30 Egyptian kings has contributed to the building of this temple, where they documented part of this history until it ended with a religious complex which contains a lot of temples that represents different kings of the ancient history. Karnak complex is of 4 parts: Amun-Ra Temple, Amut, Montu, and Amenhotep IV. In addition to a number of small temples, the avenue of Sphinx that lead to the Karnak Temple, it was the Wat Nasr before. It is 2,700 meters, and also with the width of 67 meters. And it has more than 1,000 statues of Ra and human as a symbol of the sacred road, where we celebrate today the uncover of this road of the avenue of Sphinx and open to visits.
Those are 57 statues, including 807 as Sphinx and 250 by the side of Karnak on both sides, including 130 on the shape of ram, because ram was the symbol of Amun as a god, which was worshipped in Luxor. It dates back to the 14 centuries before Christ, whereby this avenue aged as 3,400 years. After that, King Nectanebo I from the 30th dynasty, who shaped the statues at the shape of a human being. We found out 1/3 of the statues. However, excavations are still ongoing, and today we are launching the project of unearthing and uncovering the Avenue of Sphinx. If you look at the images, this is the initiation of unearthing the avenue. The first statue was found in the western side in 1948. Since then, excavations keep on going and stopping and then resuming. However, all of the staff members were Egyptians. However, the major part of the work was between 2004 to 2017, and the state actually launched a project in order to unearth the avenue, and according to your own directives, we resumed the avenue excavation. This will be an added value, and that's why we can call Luxor as an open-air museum. This avenue connects between the Karnak and the Luxor. The Karnak is a complex of temples, and here is Loksar Temple. It will be illuminated as such. Some of those illuminations are only for this celebration, but we shall continue illuminating it. Luxor, indeed, Luxor, indeed, is a city registered on the International Heritage since 1978. Luxor encompasses the largest complex of monuments worldwide on both sides, eastern and western, diversified monuments. However, in this event, we want to promote Luxor as a monumental destination as well as other aspects. We have a complete international coverage, media coverage. Luxor served as the capital of the 4th region of the Upper Egypt. Usually, our ancestors ranked the cities from south to the north, because the south is the opening of the Nile. Therefore, Luxor was the capital of the city since 4,000 years ago, and it served as the capital of Egypt. This is where they launched the liberation battle against the Hyksos. The temple carries the name of the Luxor city, which is Luxor Temple. It looks at the Karnak. It is not horizontal to the Nile, but rather parallel to the Nile, in order to receive the procession coming from Karnak. That's why this avenue had been actually paved. When our colleagues excavated here, they found not only this avenue, but they found the potteries, and they found vineyards, pottery, irrigation systems. The whole life, integrated life, was actually symbolized here. That's why it was called the southern procession. However, the temple had been constructed in the 15th century before Christ, and mainly Amenhotep III in the 14th century, Ramses III, 13th century before Christ. However, construction never ended up or stopped here. Alexander the Great created the sanctity of the sanctities. Part of it turned into a Roman temple, is in addition to the churches that turned into, and Muslims actually built Masjid Abu al-Haddad. The temple encompassed 2 obelisks. One of them had been gifted to France. The second obelisk is still existing, that carries inscriptions for the Ramses III while giving the offerings to Amun-Ra. and the plaque inscribes the peace treaty against the Houthis. The temple is fronted by 6 statues of Ramses, 4 of them while sitting and 2 while standing. And when I learned this historical education, and when I taught my students, I only taught part of those statues because part of them had been demolished. But my colleagues, conducted the necessary restorations of the statues until we have a complete facade encompassing the 6 statues of Ramses. And now we finished the avenue of the 30th dynasty, and we are entering into the Luxor Temple, and we are going to enter into the 30th dynasty before Christ. Those are the banners of the flags that have been erected, and the obelisk actually carries a group of monkeys that salute the sun. We have 2 big statues of Ramses II made of granite, on right of which he has his wife. And this is the first building, and we are about to enter into the first vestibule. And this vestibule displays the beauty of the Egyptian civilization, the first of which is the 18th dynasty, and we will find Ramses II for the 19th dynasty. And those are the remains of a church on top of which the masjid or the mosque, because it had been unearthed. This masjid dates back to 800 years ago, since the Ayyubian era, and the great part of it is that the entrance is actually a pharaonic monument, and they maintained the pharaonic inscriptions. However, it had been still maintained as a masjid or a mosque. This is the 18th dynasty that included 3 chapels in order to receive the procession of the 18th dynasty. This is a vestibule of Ramses II. It's an open air that symbolizes the papyrus, because the temple was a small world. That's why they wanted always to symbolize everything that goes on life. This is a statue of Ramses II, while his right foot is in front of the left foot, symbolizing that he is still alive. And we are ending now the work of the Ramses II. After that, we come to Amenhotep from the 18th dynasty. He created this glorious line of columns, and the papyrus was the symbol of the north in the ancient Egypt. And after that, we will find the vestibule where the celebration is going to take place. All of those facades tells us about the festival of Opet. Our celebration today portrays the Opet festivation. I'm going to stop here at the secret of the Egyptian civilization, which is this scene. This scene is called as Sema Tawi. Sema is the unity. Tawi means land, which is the both territories, which is the north and south. This is the papyrus as well as the lotus, which symbolizes the unity and strength of this state. Who sits together? This is a god symbolizing the prosperity, happy, which means the flood of the Nile, and the strength of the overflow of the Nile, which is responsible for life in Egypt. That's why they worshipped it, and they turned the flood into a god named as Happy, who creates the unity there for the Egyptian nation. In order to continue being strong as such, they need 2 elements to be always in unity, as well as the Nile and the flood. Together with me, I have my colleague Manel, one of the restorators who stood at this scavenge, and she wants to thank you. We would like to welcome you to Luxor City, which turned into a bride because of your presence here. Our effort is based on your support, which had been conveyed always by His Excellency the Prime Minister. I am one of the people of Luxor City and one of the team who worked in the excavation unearthing the Avenue of Sphinx, which had been opened under your presidency. We opened many monumental destinations due to your constant support that had been conveyed by His Excellency the Prime Minister when he used to visit us here on site. And he always monitored the work on site, and he always climbed over the scaffold, and it served as a boost for us to continue working as much as possible. So we'd like to thank you very much.
Mr. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the President of Egypt. His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the President of Arab Republic of Egypt. In the place of the temple of Hatshepsut, where she incarnated the idea of the empowerment of women since history. We welcome you all to Luxor City, the city of history that stayed till today to witness the intelligence of the ancient Egyptians. In Habu Temple, where it has the sanctuary and the victory, we welcome you all to Luxor, the land of glorification, the land of the ancient Egyptians. We welcome you all to this historical day inside Luxor with the presence of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and his wife. In the bank of the Nile, where they discovered Tutankhamun temple and all his treasures, this very spectacular tomb with the kings and queens of the ancient Egyptians. We welcome you all to Luxor, the city of the treasures. Egypt has always been the minaret of the science in the whole world. In the 1975, the Luxor inauguration of temple is welcoming the new age of peace. We welcome you all and sending a message of love from the land of peace. We would not exaggerate to say that every part in Egypt has monuments and treasures because it's the land of civilization. We welcome you to Luxor, the land of the kings and the beauty and the charm. The same way of the avenues of Sphinx, and on the banks of the sacred lake, we reach the complex of Karnaka Temple with all its treasures of our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians. We welcome you all to Luxor, the city of history. From here, from Loksar Temple, we start today's ceremony. Mr. President Abdel Fattah Sisi, the President of Arab Republic of Egypt, and his wife. Welcome guests and dear dignitaries. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all today to this celebration, the unique celebration of this important, very important event, not only for Egyptians, but for all the civilization lovers from all over the world, that they all now are focusing on Upper Egypt and especially to Luxor, the Thebes, the city of Thebes. The celebration today, we have a lot of displays and performances from the Opet celebration by the procession that starts from Karnak to reach Luxor Temple. When we speak about Luxor, we literally say that it's the biggest open temple which comprises the biggest number of monuments in the world. It's called Luxor because of the many palaces it has, and it witnesses the strength of the people who constructed it. And in the columns, there is a proof that Egyptians can build a civilization where they had put a place for Egypt, which inspired us today to build and to develop, to build a new city where it provides dignity and a dignity life to all its citizens. We are proud today to speak about the beauty of our country because, yes, our country is beautiful.
هنا في جنة على أرضنا وجالنا العالم قال هنا مكاننا من بداية الحياة من كل البلاد بلدنا فيها حجر بينطق تاريخنا ونيل يشهد يعيش جوا روحنا هنا بداية الحياة. شوفوا الجبل شوفوا الخيال وشوفوا نيلنا حلو بلدنا حلو الكون بحاله وبجماله مش في جمالها حلو وناسها حلو شوفوا الجبل شوفوا الخيال وشوفوا نيلها حلو بلدنا حلو الكون بحاله وبجماله مش في جمالها ولف الدنيا دور ودور قولي فين تشوف تصور سحر يعيش سنين تصور كل ده عندنا
Soaring through time as legends make their way from land to sky. On m'a parlé d'un trésor que l'on ne trouverait dans les plus beaux songes. One of its kind. Here we are as we follow those golden lights. Mais sur Luxor j'ai posé les yeux, je vois là. We believe in our dreams. Searching through and through, my journey leads me back to you. And in the valley of the kings, it's always here I feel complete. À chaque détour, je découvre ce que l'histoire signifie. Comme si les rêves pouvaient être saisis. Luxor est le berceau de la vie.
هنا في جنة على أرضنا وجالنا العالم قال هنا مكاننا من بداية الحياة من كل البلاد بلدنا فيها حجر بينطق تاريخنا ونيل يشهد يعيش جوا روحنا هنا بداية الحياة لف الدنيا دور ودور قولي فين تشوف تصور سحر يعيش سنين
Amun city, the south of Heliopolis, which is the symbol of strength. All of those are names to Luxor City, which is one of the most beautiful cities of Upper Egypt. Luxor City is filled with life and activity, such as the inflow of the Nile that is embraced within the city. The Nile as a great river, as named by our ancestors, which had been respected and sanctified by the Nile. The Corniche of the Nile is not only a monumental site, it had been developed to stretch over 1,200 kilometers, turning into one of the most important sites of the city. Nevertheless, the most beautiful item of Luxor is the people, who always have smiling faces and very hospitable. It is the spirit of the Luxor. It's the extension of its civilization as well as the construction of civilization. They are the custodians of the civilization as well as the monument of Luxor, people of Luxor.
اي سايح ما جاش لوكسور ولا ركب الحنطور واتحنطر ونزلنا ما يعيش ولا يوم.
في اكيد سر في الاقصر. ايه سر الاقصر بقى؟
فيها سر عجيب بيجذب الناس.
فيها أكبر إرث حضاري وثقافي للبشرية جمعاء.
عندنا الشمس والخضرة.
النيل لوحده سر.
جواها جميل والطبيعة بتاعتها حلوة.
الأقصر هي أيقونة الحضارة المصرية القديمة، هي المكان اللي واضح جدا فيه كل مقومات الحضارة المصرية.
السايح لما يجي من المدينة مش عاوز يروح، ما يغسل همومه.
تحسوا براحة نفسية هنا.
كفاية كرم
الناس أكيد.
احنا مش بنسميه زائر، بنسميه ضيف.
في ناس بتحس إن في طاقة جاية من الأماكن دي.
روح المصري القديم اللي هي ما زالت موجودة لحد دلوقتي وبتأثر في كل حد.
يعني ريحة القدماء المصريين موجودين في بتوع لوكسر دلوقتي.
فيها سر مهما أوصف فيه مش هقدر أوصل له.
فده سر حقيقي، سر رباني يعني.
بس أنا سمعت يا دكتور إن الأقصر من أغنى بلاد العالم في الآثار وفي الشهرة وفي التاريخ، هل ده حقيقي؟
عندك حق. بنتكلم على الأقصر
أهم مدينة أثرية في العالم.
الأقصر تعتبر موسوعة مصغرة لتاريخ وحضارة مصر.
بتتميز بكمية آثار مش موجودة في أي مكان في العالم.
بنتكلم على أكتر من 4000 سنة عمر تقريباً. بنتكلم على تنوع غير عادي. الدولة القديمة، الدولة الوسطى، الدولة الحديثة، العصور المتأخرة، الفترة اليونانية، الفترة الرومانية، في تنوع غير عادي.
يمكن الأقصر هي المكان الوحيد اللي بتتفرد بوجود هذا الكم الزاخر من الكنوز.
الأقصر بناها أعظم ملوك مصر اللي حكموا مصر في فترة الدولة الحديثة.
قوة الدولة المصرية كانت الدولة الحديثة.
هنا موجود أكتر كمية معابد ومقابر بترجع للفترة دي.
معبد الكرنك يعتبر من أكبر دور العبادة في العالم كله.
عندنا معبد الأقصر، ظهرت معابد الأقصر.
احنا بنتكلم على آلاف من المقابر. النقوش والألوان اللي فيها،
الألوان زي ما كان بيشوفها المصري القديم، لنا أن نتخيل كل الحوائط الموجودة في كل المعابد وكل المقاصير بنفس الألوان وجمالها.
يعني كل الالوان دي حضرتك عايز تقنعني ان هي فعلا بقالها كل المده دي مفيش فيها تعديلات حديثه؟
في عندنا قواعد بتحكمنا، ودي قواعد منظمة للعالم أجمع في عملية الترميم. كل الألوان اللي احنا شايفينها هنا يا أسماء ألوان بترجع للأسرة ال19، ممنوع إن احنا نلون.
وادي الملوك أهم منطقة أثرية على مستوى العالم.
المكان اللي الملوك مصر العظام كلهم موجودين فيه، وبنجد يمكن روعة النحت والنقش والألوان الجميلة جدا اللي مش موجودة في مكان تاني.
وهنا طبعا أشهر الملوك على الإطلاق الملك توت عنخ آمون ومقبرته اللي عثر عليها سنة 1922، والكنز بتاع المقبرة اللي بيشتمل على أكثر من 5000 قطعة أثرية ماستر بيس.
جدي ابتدى هنا سنة 1907 كمصور مصري، سايب حوالي 1940 صورة صور بالكاميرات دي. كل دي صور نادرة، أغلبها في حدود ال 100 سنة، ومغطية الصعيد كله من أبيدوس لغاية النوبة. وده آخر طريق الكباش. وده الملك فؤاد لما زار الأقصر بعد اكتشاف المقبرة. يعني الأقصر كانت قبلة الملوك والرؤساء بعد اكتشاف المقبرة. يعني
الأقصر بتعتبر مدينة بتجمع بين كل الحضارات.
الحضارة الفرعونية، الحضارة الرومانية، والحضارة القبطية والإسلامية، امتزاج بين الأديان. سبحان الله. فيه فهم عالي لناس الأقصر إن الآثار دي بتاعتهم هم. مساعد سيدي أبو الحجاج وصل هنا الأقصر وبقي مسجده هنا، وهي النقوش زي ما هي قاعدة، محدش لعب فيها خالص. المعبد ده كانت في ناس ساكنة فوقيه، كان أيام فيضان النيل كانت اسمها التبة. زمان كان فيضان النيل كانت المراكب تغرق برا هنا، كان في فرعين للنيل، فرع من هنا وفرع من هنا. الدورة هي اللفة من الشمال، وكانت ترمي الحلاوة وتلف، وكانت في مراكب تتحط على عربيات كارو ويرموها بالحبال، يمسكوها حوالي 20 راجل، 10 من هنا و10 من هنا، زي احتفال الفراعنة زمان.
هي نفس الطقوس، هي موجودة عندنا في مولد أبو الحجاج 4 مراكب، ومعروف ارتباط المراكب بمراكب آمون، هم الثالوث المقدس لآمون وموت وخنسو، بالإضافة إلى المركب الرابع وهي مركب سيدي أبو الحجاج نفسه.
أدي محبتي في نبيك براك تبحت السحار، ميمونة تمد أول إيدي يا ما تكتر في التوحيد.
بندعو جميع العالم انه يجي يتفرج عندنا في مصر عامة، وبلدي الأقصر هنا خاصة، بأن هي بتعتبر مجمع للأديان.
دير الشهداء ده دير من القرن الرابع، بنته الملكة هيلانا على أجساد الشهداء، وبيحكي تاريخ آبائنا وأجدادنا وتاريخ إسنا بالذات.
عشان كده الأقصر متفردة عن كل دول العالم من خلال هذا الكم العظيم من الآثار. ده يمكن اللي خلى الإنسان المصري القديم اللي عاش هنا امتلك مقومات التفوق وعمل الحضارة اللي احنا شايفينها لغاية دلوقتي محفوظة. اللي احنا شايفينه بس ده لسه كمان غير الحاجات التانية، احنا في عندنا اكتشافات كل يوم بتطلع.
بص في الحته العاليه دي وعلى مهلك. الله
الصلاة على النبي
عليه الصلاة والسلام. لا ده حد من المرممين يعملوا كونسوليديشن، يعملوا تقوية. منشدة أمون. بسم الله ما شاء الله، بسم الله ما شاء الله. على مهلك يا، على مهلك يا.
عرض احنا ما عندكش كل يوم اثار مصر جديد، كل يوم ما عليكش في حاجه جديده.
عشان يطلع التمثال ده والتمثال ده بسماتيك، وعشان نربط ما بين المقبره اللي احنا مطلعينها يبقى لازم يكون في ربط، لازم يكون في ربط، يبقى لازم هنا في امتداد. هندخل على المقبره.
الأقصر اتغيرت تغيير تام في الفترة الأخيرة. أسلوبنا في الترميم بدأنا نكشف عن أماكن.
ده تمثال المفروض إن هو بتاع الملك نختلبه الأول، بناخد التمثال ده وبنعمل له ترميم.
احنا أمام تمثال الملك تحتمس الثاني من ملوك الأسرة 18، واحنا دلوقتي في إطار مشروع لإعادة ترميمه واستكماله بأيدي مصرية وفريق مصري خالص.
قول لي يا ريس.
نعم.
هو اللي خلص فرجة على الأماكن الأثرية ممكن يعمل إيه تاني هنا؟
الأقصر فيها حاجات كتير أوي ممكن تتعمل.
عندنا مقومات سياحية أكتر بكتير جدا من الآثار. في سياحة البالون الطاير اللي هي ممكن من خلالها تقدر تكتشف الأقصر كلها بجبالها بنيلها.
اطلعي الصبح بدري في الفجرية نشوف شروق الشمس.
في 45 دقيقة تكتشف الأقصر بكل تفاصيلها.
أجمل منظرين أي واحد ممكن يشوفهم هنا منظر الشروق ومنظر الغروب.
تتفرجي على الطبيعة بتاعت الأقصر من فوق وتتفرجي على المعالم السياحية كمان.
اتفرج عليهم وهم جايين بيلفوا على البلد كلها، يعني متعة يعني.
ايه ممكن تاني اعمله هنا لو جيت الاقصر؟
الأقصر الله أكبر على النيل والفسحة بالمركب الشراع الفلوكة والشاي مع الغروب. ممكن يتمشى في البلد، سوق العطارة وسوق السياحي.
تقدر تحتك بالأهالي، تقدر تتعرف برضو على العادات والتقاليد اللي هم عايشين بيها وبيمارسوها لغاية دلوقتي. برضو ممكن تركب الجمل، تركب الحمار، تركب الحصان.
نايب كروز برضو هنا من الأقصر أسوان، إدفو، كابومبو.
في الكروزات، في الفلايك. عندنا هنا بتنطلق رحلات الذهبيات. عندنا مرسم كان بيجتذب اشهر رسامين، كانوا بيقعدوا يرسموا بقى البيوت بتاعت الجرنة وبتاعت الغرب. في حاجات كتير تاني ممكن تتعمل، عادات وتقاليد في الاحتفالات مثلا.
الأقصر هي مقصد سياحي متكامل فيها كل حاجة، بالإضافة طبعا للآثار اللي هي بتميزها، لأن الأقصر تعتبر أكبر متحف مكشوف في العالم. هي موقع مصري مسجل على قائمة التراث العالمي لليونسكو من سنة 1979. الأقصر فيها كل أنواع الآثار اللي ممكن تنتظرها، ولكن الأقصر مش بس آثار عظيمة، في سائحين بيجوا مرة واثنين وثلاثة في السنة، لأن الأقصر ما تتشافش في مرة ولا في مرتين ولا في ثلاثة. اتفضل. في كمان ناس كتير جدا أجانب قرروا أنهم يقيموا لفترات طويلة في هذه المنطقة السياحية الأثرية الرائعة والفريدة. كتير من الناس بعد ما تقضي حياتها كلها في ضغوط عمل وحسابات وتعقيدات وتعاملات إنسانية قد تكون صعبة، بيبحثوا دايما على العيشة في مكان هادئ آمن مع ناس طيبة بسيطة محبة للحياة، وسط حضارة ثرية، وسط طبيعة خلابة، وسط شمس زي اللي احنا موجودين فيها في الشتاء، بعيد عن الجو البرد القارس في دول أخرى. ربنا ادانا نعمة كبيرة قوي، ادانا شواطئ، ادانا شمس، ادانا جو حلو، ادانا ناس طيبة، وأجدادنا سابوا لنا حضارة تميزنا عن أي دولة تانية في العالم.
هي طول عمرها ندهت الأجانب من زمان قوي، في بقى اللي بيجي للاستشفاء، في اللي بيجي للهدوء والسكينة. أنا أعرف ناس عايشة هنا شارية بيوت وليها بال10 وال20 سنة،
لدرجة إن بعض منهم بيحاول يقلد المصريين في كل حاجة، في اللبس بتاعه، في عاداته.
I first came here to Egypt to visit in 2006, and on the very first day I knew in my heart I needed to stay here because the ruh of the people here today is exactly the same as it was thousands of years ago. So I bought land and built this house. I designed and built it myself. This is the perfect place for me to be painting here in Luxor.
أنا سمعت إن أنت بتتكلم عربي، ده صحيح؟
صح، أنا بتكلم شوية عربي عشان بعد 15 سنين لازم بتكلم شوية.
طب أنت بتقضي يومك إزاي هنا؟
أنا صاحي بدري عشان بحب نور الشمس، في إفطار وجرجير ولبن جاموسة وحاجات زي كده برضه لازم.
When I came to Luxor 25 years ago, I had a dream, and my dream was to build a place. I think there is something magical about Luxor, especially Luxor West Bank. I can't explain it, but I can feel it. So what you have here, you can't find it anywhere else in the world. So it's so rich, it's fantastic.
بلدنا جميلة جدا، بلدنا آمنة جدا، بلدنا فيها كل حاجة، وأهم حاجة المصريين الطيبين اللي فاتحين دراعتهم لكل ضيوفها من كل دول العالم.
Indeed, sectors of tourism and monuments are witnessing a golden era, and tourism promotion is witnessing a leap, unprecedented. The tourism sector proved being strengthened and recovered itself post-corona. Several monumental excavations drew the attention worldwide. Those are very sincere efforts in order to recover the monumental assets that had been taken abroad and looted abroad in order to preserve the Egyptian civilizations under the political will represented by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in order to preserve the history and civilizations. And indeed, he was really keen to open all of the museums worldwide, Egypt, including several sites in addition to the Baronian Pan in Heliopolis. Indeed, President Sisi received the mummies parade, and he opened the Museum of Egyptian Civilizations. Those are concerted efforts in order to upgrade the Egyptian position. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming His Excellency Dr. Khalid Al-Anani, Minister of Tourism and Antiquities. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, First Lady, ladies and gentlemen, august participants from Egypt, and our foreign guests from more than 30 countries, tens of millions who are actually watching live this celebration due to extended media coverage. I'm really proud to stand before you from the heart of the Upper Egypt, where the Egyptian civilization had been incepted from a very old governorate, which is Luxor. It does not only encompass the Luxor city, but each and every spot of Luxor that had witnessed a major part of our unique civilization. In Luxor Temple, this is one of the icons of the city. We are standing as part of a courtyard that dates back to more than 3,400 years, dating back to 14th century BC. And it witnessed an unprecedented prosperity, very strong international ties, construction that had been unprecedented, and he actually built so many monuments, especially in Luxor, in this very spot in 1989. And a very important monumental site had been excavated. More than 20 statues for kings and gods had been actually dug here. The courtyard was actually a place for celebrations. That's why we actually chose this spot in order to hold this celebration. As part of this is the Uppet festivals. Today we are celebrating what, and Excellency President, allow me to quote you, which is to introduce Luxor in a new robe. And indeed, if this main event to end the unveiling the avenue of Sphinx, and in this regard, I don't know who to thank. The first statue with the head of the human being had been dug in 18 March 1949 by means of an Egyptian archaeologist. And since then, and throughout 70 years, Egyptian archaeologists are pursuing this road, and I would like to commend them and salute them. This project is not strictly underground, but also overground and surface. So many buildings that had been over this road. It was very wide to open this road and connect between Luxor and Karnak, because Luxor to deserve the title of the largest open museum worldwide. So I would like to salute all of those who are responsible for Luxor since 2004. However, the project stumbled in 2011. However, by the second mid-term of 2017, because President Sisi commissioned the engineering department for the armed forces, had been commissioned to continue. The monumental efforts are going to continue throughout several years. We excavated 250 statues with the head of rams and 800 plus with the human head, because the ram-headed statues dates back to 14th century before Christ, and the statues that are bearing a human heads dates back to 4th century before Christ, and we only found 1/3 of the statues. The rest of them are only the bases. But throughout the last 4 years, my peers, colleagues, restorators discovered 4 heads. Therefore, we are going to continue in this monumental effort. This celebration is not restricted only to actually announce the end of unveiling the Avenue of Sphinx. However, it has several objectives, including the optical identity project, and the design had been created by the GOC students, had been implemented by the engineering department of the armed forces under the supervision of Luxor Governorate. What happened about the optical identity? It is easy for me to say what did not happen. According to the promotion movie, actually people were watching through the airplanes. They used the hantur, or the horse carriage. Also the boats are unified in terms of looking squares, streets, sites. Everything had been included into the optical identity. The second objective is to promote Luxor as a city. I don't believe in figures when they say that Egypt encompasses 1/3 or 1/8 of monuments, because I can simply say that our monuments are incomparable and we cannot actually relate it in ratio. Those are unique group on selected monuments. Praise be to Allah, we have these treasures. The new promotion strategy that had been created through an expert office told us that during the upcoming phase and post-corona, when you promote Egypt, you have to actually promote Egypt in the sense that it is a youth country, outgoing, modern through tourism activities. However, it holds very dear at heart the civilization, in addition to organizing several events, because those events is a message, sending a message to safety and security and the treasures, which will actually encourage and attract visitors. The last point, but it not the least, which is establishing and reinforcing loyalty and belonging to Egypt. We actually witnessed the response and the reaction among each and everybody regarding the Mummies Parade and how they discovered something that had been hidden. The event includes several episodes. However, the next episode is part and parcel of the celebration. It's an artistic celebration that had been inspired by Opet Festival, one of the most important festivities that happened on the second month of the flood every year. And by the way, it had been titled as Epit, and which is the title of the second month of the Coptic calendar, which is Baba. It corresponds to the old festival that had been celebrated by our ancestors. It started on the land and it returns back through the river. After that, it reversed. What's the relation between this festival and the Nile? It had been based on flood, that's why they had always returned through Nile. And we also found monuments from the 18th dynasty. We are talking about 3,400 years. The festival started in 11 days that had increased to 27 days. It continued according to the promotional movie in the Moulid of Abu al-Haggag. When they celebrated the Moulid, they carried the boats, because we are all one texture throughout thousands of years. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to His Excellency President of Egypt for supporting tourism and monuments, and support encompasses a lot of things. Personal monitoring, you actually adopted this event and you gave us directive to actually display Luxor in a totally different shape, and also being here with us represents a lot of temples. And I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the Prime Minister for overseeing the collective work, because this work is not restricted on one single tourism. His Excellency the President visited Luxor 2 or 3 times, and he climbed over the scaffolds, and also he toured through the city, and I'd like to extend my sincere thanks. He toured the city and visits with my colleagues, Minister of Local Development, Governor of Luxor, and several other entities and Ministry of Interior. I don't want to overlook anybody. Every party took part, and I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the General Intelligence of Egypt and my colleagues in the Agency of Tourism Promotion and every person who participated and contributed to this effort. And inshallah, we are going to continue holding other events in different governorates. And allow me to start this artistic piece that is inspired by the old Uppet Festival. Thank you.
Oh الأقصر بلدنا بلد سواح، فيها الأجانب تتفسح، وكل عام وقت المروح بتبقى مش عايزة تروح وتسيب بلدنا. على أرضها مختار يا اسطى، دول مبسوطين آخر بسطة. على أرضها مختار يا اسطى، دول مبسوطين آخر بسطة. ولف بينا أجمل مدينة، مش برضو منها أجيب الوصفة تردها لك في الأفراح. ومهما تبعد وتروح برضو في بلدنا. بلدنا بلد سواح، فيها الأجانب تتفسح، وكل عام وقت المروح بتبقى مش عايزة تروح وتسيب بلدنا. الأقصر بلدنا على الخرطة، يتحط من تحتها شرطة. الأقصر بلدنا على الخرطة، يتحط من تحتها شرطة. شايفين مكانها أي والله ما بين جيرانها، زي الشموع حوالين تورته، والشمس تطلع كل صباح بفرحة والدمعة تروح لفراق بلدنا. بلدنا